Come on in, guys. Come on in. Come on in. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Come on in. We got to talk. Today, we're going to go over something very quickly. I'm not going to keep y'all on here long. I hope everybody's having a great Friday. This matter that we're going to discuss today is usually something that we discuss on the late night tip. However, I found it very fitting to discuss while you're on your way home. I know a lot of you are in traffic right now. Hold it in the road, drive safely. Don't try to reach for your phone. Just listen to the commentary, okay? You'll be able to replay it once you get home. Come on in. Happy Friday, everybody. Click like when you come in. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Like I said, we're going to go over definition today. Very interesting definition. We're going to look at a few videos, one or two maybe, and then we're going to talk. Click like as you come in and share with one person. We got to talk.
When I find out that you've been scheming against me and the people that I love, well, if it's the war you want, it's the war you're going to have.
Queens don't always talk and look nice and polished.
Being a queen has more to do with having balls.
To do what you weak fucks won't do.
Okay, is everybody on here? Come on in, keep loading in, and we will be. Let me make sure I'm live on my side. Let me make sure everybody can hear me and see me properly. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Yeah, we're live. We're about to get into it. Come on in, guys. Someone said, uh-oh, is everything okay? You guys can hear and see me properly. We're live. Great thing is we don't have any bad weather today, so my stream should not cut out. However, this is a live show, so sometimes technical difficulties happen. Sometimes when my conversation isn't favored by YouTube, it just kind of goes out sometimes. You know, that happened to us earlier this week. Y'all remember that. Keep coming in, guys. Come on in. Click like when you come in. So, we're going to discuss something today. Starting with, because I'm trying to make this show a bit short, although this topic that we're going to discuss is pretty serious. First, I want to start off with a definition. Okay, as everybody load in, keep clicking like. Hey, y'all, come on in. Come on in, share the live with one person as you come in. Hey, everybody. Hey, guys. Yes, I'm back. As you've seen, I put the post up in my stories. If you're not following me on IG, follow me on IG. I'm at Queen Janice on IG. Follow me on TikTok too, at Queen Janice. Directly after this live, I'll be on TikTok, kind of like for after show type deal, where we'll talk more on this subject matter. But follow me on IG because I announced on IG that I'll be live on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And that was one of my West Coast guys, Neek, that was his idea. Instead of coming on every day, I don't have the capacity right now to come on every day because I don't have like a team of people helping me with the lives, helping me make clips for social media and things like that. So, yeah, for now, I'll come on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Click like as you come in, and we're going to get started here. So, first off, I want to show y'all a definition. Okay. I want to show y'all a definition. And let's start here. Land power is the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain, and exploit control over land, resources, and people. Okay, yeah, we just going straight to it. Okay, land power. Now you haven't seen this term much in our everyday vernacular because this is a U.S. military term. Land power. In fact, I got this out the U.S. Military Heritage and Education Center, but I'm going to show you somewhere else that this is listed here in a minute. Land power, okay, is the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain, and exploit control over land, resources, and people. Okay, right? Y'all following this? Okay. So, land power. Okay, that's what we are facing here. And if you think that this is some kind of outdated term, I would like to show you something else that kind of ties into land power. Please share this with one person. I know a lot of y'all don't support the channel. A lot of y'all do. Some people just take the content, take it to other social media platforms, and repurpose it as if they did the research on it. I'm going to put a stop to that as well. So let's just share the live with a family member or a friend so that they can come to the live and get the content as I'm putting it out. Okay? Y'all know what happened the last time I started putting content like this out. My last YouTube channel was sanctioned and deleted. Sanctioned and deleted. I thought I did nothing wrong, but I went to showing military files and it sanctioned and deleted. So let's show something real quick. Land power. Okay. I'm on SAMS.gov. If you don't know what SAMS.gov is, it's where the military contracts, any kind of government contracts goes out for you to bid on so that you can get the job. Okay. So that you'll know that land power is not an outdated term. I'm on SAM.gov. Okay. United States Army College, School of Strategic Land Power, Department of Distance Education, Executive Mentor Coach. So they're looking for a executive mentor coach for the Army War College, School of Strategic Land Power. It's a whole school, guys. Now, I ran this by someone in the Army, and I ran this by an Army vet. They had no clue. I don't know what, maybe it's a different part of Army that the black people are in. I'm not sure. But there's a whole school of strategic land power. Perhaps some of you went through this school and just didn't put two and two together. But that's what we're here today, to put two and two together. Okay, Strategic Land Power, Department of Distance Education, Executive Mentor Coach. This was just released. It was updated. The published one was updated August 1st. It was originally published on July 30th, 2024, 12:37 p.m. Okay. Only a few days old. Okay, here is where it is needed. Carlisle. Okay, you know that dreaded place, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Okay, USA. And if you are kind of confused about where Carlisle is, this is the exact Carlisle where the Carlisle Indian Industrial School was. And if you remember my live when I went over the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, it is kind of promoted as if, oh, these were some Russian looking, Chinese, Asian looking people who were stripped of their American Indian culture and was taught to be more Americanized. That's not how that happened. I pulled out a whole lot of files from the Carlisle Indian school, land files and such, and they had a lot of Negro names on them. I did about a 3-hour live going over these Carlisle Indian School files. Okay, today the Carlisle Indian School is a U.S. Army War College. Okay, they're looking for someone for the School of Strategic Land Power. Okay, that's what's happening right now. Now, earlier this week, I discussed very briefly on Tuesday that I was going to start going over the USDA, the land that was taken via USDA. There's kind of two discussions here, two land discussions here that we're talking about: heirs property that have minerals and heirs property that don't have minerals. Either way, I'm discussing all of the above. So on Tuesday, I briefly talked about the Scott family, and I said that I'll start going over the USD files. I found a video on the Scott family. I kind of chopped it up to like a 1 minute video that I want you all to see here. I chopped it up so you can see the Scott family had land, they lost land, and they got it back. So I just literally chopped it up so that you can get the cliff notes of that Scott family story, and then I'm going to tell you how we got here. And keep the land power definition in mind as you watch this video, okay?
It was rough back then, but you had to have some guts to stand up and just be rough with them.
When he owned his land, he actually had 57 families who lived on his land and worked with him. And it was like a community. Whatever we needed was on our farm. We would put up peaches, we would put up peas and butter beans, and everybody got their share to carry them across the winter. They foreclosed on his land.
At its peak, the Scott's farm spanned across 1,000 acres. Now it was down to just 300.
He was blind, but we made sure that he signed the documents to buy his land back, and he presented the check to the same man who was instrumental in taking his land. He was still in office.
It took the Scott family nearly 30 years, a space of a generation, to buy their land back.
Can you all please put some hearts in the chat if you just saw that video? I'm going to tell you how you got here, but I want to make sure you saw the video and heard the video. Please put some hearts in the chat if you just saw and heard that about the Scott family. At the peak of their land ownership, this land was passed down to them from generations. At the peak, they owned 1,000 acres. There's a lot in that story that I chopped out. The Scott family, they just kept fighting when they weren't able to get funding. They turned parts of their farmland into a catfish farm. They dug out the catfish farms themselves. They started growing catfish. They were selling catfish and hush puppies. They had a whole store, a whole business, an entire operation going on their land. And none other than the USDA took it from them. And 30 years it took them to fight to get that land back. Unfortunately, lots of Black families have not even started the fight or are deep in the fight right now. Now, when we talk about the USDA, let's talk about it in its full context. The USDA was supposedly founded by Abraham Lincoln. That's right. Abraham Lincoln, the same person, please click like in here, guys, the same person who was over the Union Army, the same Union Army that had concentration camps, the same Union Army that had punch bowls that came to the South, turned people heirs property into concentration camps. Millions of Black Americans, Negroes, American Indians, whatever you want to call us today, were murdered on their own heirs' property. During the Civil War, the USDA was started somewhere around 1862 by Abraham Lincoln, and it's continuing today. Abraham Lincoln was murdered, and I suppose it had something to do with him starting this USDA. Now, the USDA is directly under the executive branch still to this day. That means the president, whoever we choose, is over the USDA. A lot of times when we think about USDA, we think, oh, it's just some farmland, chicken, and cows. No. The USDA covers everything: farmland, natural resources, oil, the energy department, all of that is under the USDA. So when you hear a president, a former president, and someone who's running for president say, hey, we're going to mine on and get some of this liquid gold, and we have more liquid gold than any other place in the world, and he's talking about oil. Well, the USDA oversees that oil. Now, I mentioned the USDA on Tuesday on my live. On Wednesday, President Biden signed off on a lawsuit, I guess, for about $2 billion. Let's pull it up. Black and minority farmers get $2 billion in payments after black and minority farmers get $2 billion in payments after USDA acknowledged years of discrimination. I want you to read this on your own time. The Fortune article. Read the one from Fortune magazine. $2 billion in payments for black and minority farmers, right? That's the one I want you to read because there's many articles out. This article basically says some black farmers are getting about $5,000 in payments. About $5,000 payment. Mind you, during COVID, there's 1.9 trillion or some kind of crazy amount that was about to be released to black farmers, and then white farmers during COVID went and countersued and said that lawsuit goes against their constitutional rights, and then they had to come and reword the lawsuit to include white people. Why is this important? Let me show you. Let me show you why this is important. I have to keep sharing my screen. Not the trash. I have to keep sharing my screen, okay? I want y'all to remember this. Yeah, we have talked about this before. There were nearly 1 million black farmers in 1920. Why have they disappeared? And let's read it. Let's read this paragraph here. The number of black farmers in America peaked in 1920. We're talking about World War I. We're talking about 1 year before the bombs start falling in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other places. Think about the definition of land power as I read this. The number of black farmers in America peaked in 1920 when there were 948,889 black farmers. That's almost 1 million black farmers. 949,889. Today, the country's 3.4 million total farmers, only 1.3% or 45,000 are black. Now, in 1920, during Jim Crow, when we were supposed to be descendants of slaves, when we were supposed to be slave this, slave that, can't afford nothing, it was almost 1 million of our family members farming America. Under Abraham Lincoln's creation, the USDA, farming included oil, other natural resources, your granite, your adipolgite, your tobacco, your cotton, your oranges, your pineapples, your sweet potatoes out of North Carolina, your tomatoes. Almost 1 million black Americans, though they were called Negroes back then, almost 1 million of them, guys. So when we talk about heirs property, we're talking about People who had commodities on their land, and some people didn't. We're at 1 million, okay? Almost 1 million landowners. We have millions who didn't have commodities on their land, but millions who did, and it's documented through the USDA. And we have this stuff on record forever, right? So think about that. You have the definition of land power, the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain, and exploit control over land, resources, and people. Now, by occupation, during the World Wars, which is the same era of 1920, when we started losing these farmland, these family heirs property by the millions. Think about occupation. The USDA came directly from the president. So any county representatives, any overseers of these farms, they were USDA and they came directly from the president and they were militarily backed. Now the Scott story is very interesting and it's sad and it's all of the above, because in the Scott story they notate that during that era the USDA was foreclosing on Black American properties, Negro American properties, much faster than any other, and for no reason, just because. And now today, the USDA owns these properties still, and they're in a government surplus, right? Until we go and fight for the land. Now, the reason I wanted you all to read that Fortune magazine article, because that Black man in that article was saying, this is okay. This is a nice gesture. This $2 billion. This is a nice gesture, but we want our land back. Because let's face it, some people only got $5,000. It's a Band-Aid. And so if the government knows that, hey, there's all these Black people out looking for land, what's going to stop the U.S. Army? Land power is the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain. That's where that term sustainability come. There are all kind of sustainability projects out that are really cloaked in all of this spookism that kind of say, oh well, the ice caps are going to come and melt, and all the land will be flooded if we don't do XYZ, and that XYZ includes depopulation. And the same people who are running this Green New Deal and all this carbon emissions reduction, they're the ones who fly on private jets every day, emitting more carbon dioxide than we are emitting when we breathe. And you can go back to that Bill Gates 2010 TED Talk, and it ties all this in together seamlessly. It's a sustainability project, and it's based on land. And during the same COVID 2019, when the USDA released those numbers saying that there were 900 plus thousand of Black farmers, they released that in 2019, along with an additional report of the percentage of farmers that's left, farmland that's owned by Black people, the 45,000. They also released where those people were located. And I also read that on my show on the other channel that was deleted, my other main channel. I thought that by the USDA releasing that would put those families in danger. That was during COVID. I thought that, dang, why would the USDA release these locations? And I sat here and read it online, because I read where I was from online about how much farmland these people owned, how much it was worth. And then here comes a mysterious cough and a mysterious inoculation. And then the whole population is supposed to take this inoculation. Follow my drift, because I don't want this to be deleted. I'm sure it's probably going to be flagged for some kind of medical misinformation. Who knows? That's why I'm not saying what you read between the lines. Okay? There's always something that happens when we try to fight. And if you don't know these things are put in place, you won't fight properly. Now that you know, there's a whole thing. There's a whole school that teaches strategies on how to gain sustain by threat. Threat could be like a KKK type organization. Threat could be like a fringe group organization trying to bait you into telling, oh, what does your family have? Oh, you're from Africa. Your family doesn't have land. You never know what program is funded by these people. By these people, I mean the actual government. So that being said, which presidential candidate do you all think will help Black American families recover their land? Not divvy out a $5,000 payment. If you don't divvy some money out, that's fine too. I mean, we'll take the money too. But we want the money and the land. Because as they were taking the land, all of this stuff is filed. All these files are in the government coffers because the USDA has always been under the executive branch since Abraham Lincoln created it. That means the president literally has the power to write an executive order to restore all Black Americans back to their heirs' property in one pen stroke. Literally, one pen stroke. So out of the 949,000 farmers, there are millions of descendants still alive today. In fact, the Scott family reminded me so much of my family. My dad and all his cousins, and they were all born on the same farm, and it's the same exact thing that the Scott family was doing. There was an overseer, and next thing you know, boom. You know. And in my little dark-skinned family, I know if they told us we were slaves. They never told us we owned land. They never told us we were actually wealthy, but during that time, you don't even think that you're wealthy. You're just living footloose and fancy free on your own land, running around playing, building whatever you want to build, doing whatever you want to do. Inventing. You have room to invent things and make life better for your family and for your loved ones because you have a cushion there. It's called land. It's a commodity that you were supposed to just pass down. It's not a commodity that was supposed to be taken by threat or by force from the USDA or from the government. Now, I know this topic is pretty heavy for a Friday. However, because Biden just pulled that yesterday and everybody is clapping for it, I want you all to read that Fortune article. 5,000 is not enough to buy that land back. You know, when you read the Scott story and other families' story like that, the USDA was undergirding white farmers with all kind of loans, and when it was time for the Black people to get a loan from the USDA, they were giving them to them at a 100% interest rate. That 100% interest rate, they were never able to pay that loan back, and they came and confiscated the land. A lot of times they were just merely getting a loan for a tractor. and getting a loan for a tractor ended up having their land confiscated and their families exiled in their own land, as Martin Luther King said. Exiled off of their own land. Now, so that when people come and try to tell you who you are, where you're from, where you're not from, a lot of people do not have these stories. But millions of us do. And because we're talking about land power, the definition of it, and the sustainability bit, know that people who look like you will get in the way of the conversation. They will be hired because it's a sustainability project. People who look like you, who are foreign, will be hired to keep this part under the rug. And now they're talking about issues that doesn't even affect you. And now the issues that they're talking about is getting more TV time, it's getting more airtime, it's going more viral than the things that you're talking about that actually Black Americans need to look into. We need to speak louder about. Not just clap because $2 billion was released to the farmers, Black and minority, and in the minority includes white farmers. And then white farmers are going to get most of the money. Make sure that our stories get out so that when it's time for these, presidential elections, we'll know what to ask for. We'll know how to ask for it. We'll know what to ask a candidate. We'll know why. We'll have these things in the back of our minds when we're formulating questions. We'll have these things in the back of our mind when we go to the polls to vote. Because this is important. The President of the United States is not only over the military, the President of the United States is over the USDA. So, even for the people who possibly don't have a commodity on their land like a natural resources, if your family member ever had a farm on that land, there are likely files at the USDA that you need to pull and look into. If your family ever had any forestry that they maybe used to sell lumber, there are files at the USDA that you need to look into, because you just never know. You just never know. Okay, there's also the U.S. Forestry Department, of course. Just look through the files. You never know what you will find. Trust me. Okay, let me read some of these. I told y'all I was going to keep y'all on here long. Right, Janice, is deeper than we think. So let me see. I got a super chat from Sheba. Dog rolling on floor. Oh, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me read some of these, oh my God, the comments. Y'all, now I know I went fast. But were y'all follow me? Long as y'all, did y'all follow me? Did y'all follow me? Did y'all follow me? Yes. That was also around the Industrial Revolution. They needed workers as well. It's definitely one of the reasons is how my Huntsville family ended up in the city. Yes. And so when people were exiled off of their heirs' property because the USDA and the government saw that, okay, this land actually has tobacco on it, we're going to oversee it for a little while and then we're going to eventually take it. And so they have to get out the land. And so once those people were exiled, they had to go find other ways to make money, other jobs. So a lot of people were exiled from the South up into the North just to find other. And when Black people got up there, they started building other industries. are helping to expand other industries, you know. And then once they got those industries nice and stable, what happened then? The government came in and exploited those industries, and wars are fought over industries, you know. And today, you know, it's just like they have us where they want us, because land power includes people. So if they wanted us to be depicted as slaves, then that's what you will be depicted as. And during political season, we'll just pander to you and laugh and joke and make it look like, oh, all they like is fried chicken and greens with hot sauce, and all they like is to shake ass. They don't want to talk about nothing deep, so I'm going to treat them as such. They don't care about their farmland. They don't care, so I'm going to treat them as such. These deeper issues is why you vote. You don't vote because somebody is your skin color. That's not why you fucking vote. Okay? That's just not why. Whoever gets in office, the first thing they need to get is another USDA lawsuit. Every year the USDA need to be sued. Every year they need to be sued. Every year the USDA need a lawsuit until that land is returned. If you know it was 949,000, those are the USDA numbers, guys. Those aren't my numbers. The USDA put that out, and everybody took it and ran with it. And shit, if the USDA put out 949,000, it was probably more than that. Just think about it. If the government, the government that took the land put out the number of, because you guys, they knew who everybody was. They knew what everybody was farming because it was during war. Like I said, when you think about oil heirs and farmers, you better put that goes in the same basket. Literally. The whole entire energy sector, it goes under the USDA. It's not just cows and chickens. No. It's oil as well. Okay? So all those people in Texas and Lower Alabama and Louisiana and Oklahoma, those files are at the USDA, and some of that land that got confiscated, it was directly by the USDA. And it, you know, it depends on how far the digging gets. You probably gonna see, well, were the USDA the one called for the bombs to be dropped? Because they certainly was the ones that benefited off of it. They put their overseers over the land, and now you got a good old white boy over there on that old Negro farm. Well, he was farming all kind of oil. He had an oil empire over there. Bombs got dropped and the cleanup crew came in just like that. Like all of it was planned overnight. Time the bombs was dropped, you had guys on the ground with machine guns just overnight. And fast forward to 2024, the vice president wants to ban assault rifles. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to ban assault rifles? How will we ever be able to protect ourselves? You don't remember what happened in Tulsa? After those bombs were dropped, and those mysterious men, it looked like the military to me, those mysterious men were on the ground with machine guns just shooting at the black people. No reparations given, as if it didn't happen. And now fast forward to today, that whole area is sitting on top of pipelines that's pumped out of the Gulf. And it's making somebody rich. It sure ain't us. We have to ask these questions. Who will help us get this land back much quicker and not ignore the conversation now that you guys know what's going on? Maybe some of you work for the government. I don't know. Maybe this is a letter to Congress. Maybe this is a letter to Senate. Now, see, to my knowledge, all of them already know about this. They already know. If you go to any Black person, Negro, colored, whatever you want to call us today, that was born in the 60s or the late 50s and asks, how was it growing up for you? They're likely going to tell you a story like the Scott family. All of us was raised on the same farmland. Me and my cousins, we was all raised together, all on the same land. They're going to tell you a story just like that. In fact, no shade, Kennedy is telling, he going around telling a story that's very similar to that. That he was raised on the family compound with all his cousins and the same story. So yeah, it's some white people that tie into our families because a lot of them married into our families during the World War era, and they start confiscating land too. They got their piece of the Kit Kat bar, you know. But as it relates to getting the land back, it's harder for them to get it back because they're further down the line as it relates to heirship. It's easier for us to get it back. But even when we get it back, do not forget land power is the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain, and exploit control over land, resources, and people. When you get your land, um, do you think you can protect it? Of course you fucking can. Of course you can. You know why the Scott family got their land back? And Mr. Scott, the elder, did not stop? It's because he was an Army vet. No, I think he was a Marine. He was one of them. He was in the military. He fought in World War II. He had a military mind. That's why he was able to get it back. He trained the people in his family to have a military mind. You're dealing with the commodity that can possibly make you a lot of money, you and your family. It's your inheritance to fight for. It's worth the fight. Now, it took them 30 years because they had to gather so many documents. It should take you way less because you got so many cheat codes that I've sat here and put out just because of how I research, just because of how you all ask me questions, I'm able to research a different way, and then you guys are able to further research what I've researched or even fact check what I've researched. And once you see is correct, then you can proceed from there. You see? So, all of my family came from farmland. A lot they lost. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Um, a lot of black people who, especially the generation born in the 60s and the late 50s, they were the last generation to really have a whole lot of land. Let's see, yeah, all of my paternal Scots were in the Army. That's what I'm saying. If you were Scott on the West Coast and you were Scott on the East Coast, it's the same family. It's the exact same family. You know, it's the exact same family. My question was to you because we are talking about politics as well. When you're thinking about selecting a candidate, you know, we have to keep in mind, no matter how a person look, there is a fight that we have been talking about, guys, since 2019. It's 2024. Everybody hear us. Everybody want to mute the conversation for their sustainability project so that they can sustain the power over the commodities here in America. And cool, you know what I'm saying? If you want to sustain the commodities here in America, that's fine and well. Pay out royalties. There's two ways to skin the cat. Give the land back or pay out royalties. Not no payment of $5,000. Now some people got up to $400,000 from what I'm reading. Even $400,000, maybe that's enough to buy some of the land back. But $400,000 with a whole legacy that was lost, erased, your family painted as slaves. Now I was reading the Scott. I was reading and I was researching the videos that was put out about the Scott family. They said, was it the Scott family or was it another family? Perhaps it was another family. They didn't have enough money to buy a tractor. And so No, that wasn't the Scott family. I think that was another family. One black family had a lot of acres of land, and they did not have the money to buy a tractor. They went to the USDA to try to get funding for a tractor because the USDA was giving out funding to white people for tractors. That's where you go and get your loans from if you need money to expand or create or keep your farm going, and because that's what they was marketed as. We're the ones who's going to help you maintain your farmland. And so they went to the USDA to get money for a tractor. And the USDA did not give them money for a tractor. And so they had to then keep farming with a mule. They had to farm with a mule. And with that mule, they were only able to do 40 acres of land because of the workforce of the mule, farming with the mule. And this was during the 1920s. So you can imagine, nice 1920s, all the white guys got tractors. And then look at this Negro over here farming with a mule. Hey, let's take a picture of that and call him a slave. You can see exactly how it happened. And it was on a government level. And today, with all these people all around the world trying to pretend like we were only slaves, you would think that the government will put a stop to it. The government can literally put a stop to this with one email, they can put a stop to this with one press release stating how it was over. I'm talking about on a government level, stating how it was over 1 million black American farmers just in the 1920s. Can you imagine if a presidential candidate said that? Can you imagine if the president of the United States said that? How much egg that'll put on the face of people around the world who like to brew ha ha and kiki and call us slaves? Could you imagine the egg on this whole diaspora wars and all these Africans who keep saying that y'all was just slaves? They don't own land in the motherland, in their motherland of Africa today, but you all owned millions of acres of land in the most powerful nation in the world. You made up the majority of farmers at one point in America. And everybody who came over here in America had to amalgamate to your culture. They had to amalgamate to your inventions. Just like when you go to any country and you see the indigenous people, you see their customs, and you amalgamate to the indigenous people of that land, their customs. That's what you amalgamate to. If they're over here cooking a certain kind of way, you learn their ways of cooking and then you amalgamate to it. If you're in India, if you're in China, if you're in Japan, if you're in Africa, you amalgamate to what the indigenous people were doing in that area. Just like when you come to America, you amalgamate to Black American culture. We don't amalgamate to the people who they call indigenous over here, the Siberian Russians. We don't amalgamate to their culture. We don't. So you mean to tell me someone came over here as slaves and built a culture that was so vast that it overtook every other culture that was ever over here on this land, and everybody that comes in through the borders amalgamate to their culture? They're eating smoked foods. The Black Americans invented that. They had the first smoke houses ever on the planet. Black Americans had whole houses, wooden houses, just for meat. And today we eat smoked meats, just like Black men never invented it. You know, that's just not food, it's everything. It's a lot that goes into a cover up, you know. Last time I checked, when people come over here to America, they don't put on moccasins and stand out in the rain and whoa and do rain dances. That's all fun and games. Last time I checked. They don't build teepees when they come to America and live in the teepees. Last I checked. Last I checked, the culture that people coming to America, they amalgamate to us. Even when they don't come to America, they amalgamate to us. I was listening to the African track team. I guess they were the track team. I don't know, Liberia. And I was listening to them girls talking. I thought those girls went to school with me. How they were talking. I mean, they were using Black American vernacular. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Like they talk like Black Americans. Oh, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. You know, the disgusting part is that we're labeled slaves, and the wealth, the riches, the cars, the farmland, the inventions, the food, everything else is just like a blur. That's my take on it. It's almost 1,000 people in here. Please click like. Please click like. I only wanted to be on here a little while because that's a heavy topic, and I know some of you are gonna go back and research land power. There are actually military books out concerning this land power thing. I'm not sure, like I said, I know I have some military people in here. I'm not sure whether everybody go through the school of land power or what. But it's definitely a real thing. Okay. Someone said, "Love me some brisket." Thank you, black men. Thank you. Yes, and a lot of death goes into the cover up, exactly. Because they'll do anything to sustain these commodities. And just guess what? That's why I said there's two ways to skin the cat. If y'all don't want to give it up, just pay royalties and shut people up. Because killing people don't work. Killing people only make it more obvious that, damn, that person was telling the truth. Now we really finna fight. Killing people only make it more obvious. Harming people only make it more obvious. You know. It only makes it more obvious, but you can imagine the fringe groups that are put in place to, you know, try to do whatever to people who go back. But guess what? When you're military minded, people think twice. But just as sure as they can do a weapons ban and take out a full capacity mags and do all that, gotcha. Good luck defending yourself against some of these hitmen they got with them with your 9 millimeters when they come in your house. Cause it's gonna be probably 10 of them, 20 of them. It don't matter. You better have something. I'm talking about when you on your land. I ain't talking about when you like in an apartment or something. I'm talking about when you get your family land back. You better be able to defend it. I like I said, I always bring the Robinson family up. I admire that family because when they got their land back, they said we're gonna defend it. Like y'all ain't gonna come take nothing else from us. Not while we living. I love that. Defend your stuff. You know. Somebody said, "Yes, Lord, nothing like some good old smoked deer meat." Yeah, that's right. No, the school is only for officers, colonial level rank. Dang, see? That's interesting. That is interesting. So Dr. Q, I think you're military. So regular people in the military don't even get to go to the school. So the higher ups know about wowzers. See, I didn't know. I learned something in the chat today. I thought, well, maybe, like I said, the Army people that I spoke to, they didn't know about it. I'm like, well, dang, I thought you was pretty big and been. No, one guy, he was pretty big in the Army, but he didn't know about land power. He didn't know about that school, which was shocking to me. I'm like, okay, what you said makes sense. The school is only for officers, colonial level rank. They are teaching Black English on YouTube, not the slaves' language. Oh, I believe they put in them East Indians like Kamala through that school. Well, it's an Army college today. It's the Army College of Land Power out of all things. Wow. There are Negroes buried at Carlisle. And man, there was so many land files and heirlooms and all that stuff in those Carlisle files. Wow. War College is okay. He said War College is for military rank or colonial or civilian GS 14. I don't even know what GS 14 means. That's way above my head. What does you break it down for us in the chat? Okay, it's almost 1,000 of us in. What does GS 14 means? Okay, yep, it's war colleges in Quantico too, on the Marine base. That's but is it a land power war college? See, it's plenty war colleges. It was a war college down in Talladega, Alabama. That was one of the largest war colleges that a black man has ever created. A black man created that, and that was during the Civil War. It was one in Talladega, down in Alabama. And I think he marched what it was either 10,000 or 100,000. It's either 10,000 or 100,000 soldiers. He was in the Confederate. They was in the Confederate at first, but you know, man, y'all gotta look at Alabama. I'm telling you, that Civil War. I've been studying the Civil War for years. That Civil War was very serious. You got to look in Alabama. You know, they try to make it see. They try to make it seem like the Confederates, they wanted to keep slavery in place, but no, I think that was just propaganda. I think that was propaganda because these people were on, for the most part, on their heirs' property, and then during the Civil War, Slaves were created in prison camps, so that people weren't just in prison camps, like people weren't just in contraband camps. The Union Army they were working. So whatever you were building or operating or farming on your land during the Civil War, when it became occupied by the military, you had to make more of that product and for free and at a quicker rate because they then confiscated all of that. It's a contraband camp. They confiscated everything as contraband. This was called the spoils of war. And then whatever they couldn't confiscate, they burned down. Go back to the Civil War and look at everything the Union burned down. They burned down whole cities that they couldn't control. They just burned it. Did you see where the Jones family in Huntsville, Alabama wants free education for UAH instead of payments? In your opinion, is that settling cheap? What? Yeah, the Jones family in Huntsville wants free education from UAH instead of payments. I didn't see that. You talking about the same Jones family that I was helping on my live that time? I didn't see that. Some of their land is like at the University of. You know what? You gotta, when this stuff go out in the media, you got to make sure that's coming from the Jones family too. And you got to make sure it ain't no propaganda involved in that, because I feel like people know it's a threat on their lives when they go get these large chunks of land back. That's why I be telling people, don't even say nothing. Like, just don't say nothing. If you're not ready, don't say nothing. Just get it and just at the family reunion, let your family know what's going on, and y'all move on the land. And whoever want to move on the land, let them move on the land as it relates to your family. You know what I'm saying? That's a family issue. It's really not a public issue. It's a family issue. And when you look at this land power definition, you understand why this is a family issue. It's not a public matter. We're just discussing it in the public. Because most of us, it's about their life. Most of us on this live is okay with smoke. Our family members might not be okay with smoke, but we are discussing it live because most of us are okay with smoke. If you follow my drift, I wasn't okay with smoke at first, but if anybody ever try to threaten my life, then I'm gonna train and I'm gonna become okay with the smoke. So you get it either which way dealing with me. So when we talk about these conversations openly, it's not for everybody to talk about openly. It's for you to get your cousins and them on the phone. Y'all do a three-way call. Do a Zoom call if you have to. Or wait till you get to the. Sometimes you can't wait till you get to the family reunion. Some of you, if you can't get but 3 family members, 5 family members, 2, you need to be on the horn on a monthly basis without ceasing, just like you're supposed to pray without ceasing. You need to be at this land getting all the files you can get without ceasing. Don't get discouraged. Just do it quietly. You don't have to. The Jones got real loud and they didn't get loud from me. They didn't get loud from my side. They had other people posting them big time. The same people that started posting um the Bruce family out in California had started posting the Jones family. I saw it when all that happened. But my little live, they didn't get popular on my live. I was just talking about the records that's there. I just pulled up I pulled up the land patents. I sent to who I needed to send it to so they can get the land back. I didn't know they hadn't got the land back, and now they're asking for education instead of payments, bro. Like, that's wow. I did my job. I did what was asked of me. I ain't know that's what they, but it could, like I said, that also could be a protection type thing too. You never know what it is. You never know what it is. Not the slaves language exactly. No, not everyone attends school. Enlisted would not know because it's not in their educational system on the enlistment side. I got you, Doc. I got you, Doc. Why I didn't keep up with the Jones family situation? GS-14 is a civilian pay grade. Okay, gotcha. GS-15 is the highest you can go. They are equivalent to certain officer grades. Gotcha. Y'all understand that? Okay, thank y'all. Cause boy, y'all had us lost in here. What is don't talk over our head now. Okay, it's a civilian level grade. They handle in charge of brigade level commands. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So what if like a GS so what if like a GS 14 is put in like a position like a sustainability position, and they're over a certain brigade of people to make sure they're able to sustain the land. And now you got these baby military, these baby mercenaries all over the internet, just looking for people trying to trick them into saying we got our land back, but they dressed in plain clothes. They dressed like a civilian, so you just going back and forth with them online, not knowing that they full GS-14 military, and they're actually on a mission, and the mission goes all the way up to the executive branch of government, directly under the president of the United States. That'd be crazy, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? I saw a news article today saying that Harris makes history as first black woman Asian American presidential nominee. They are backtracking her race now. The first black woman Asian American presidential nominee. I appreciate y'all for telling me what GS-14 is, because y'all know I don't get that deep into it. GS-14 is a government salary pay scale, higher paid government workers. Okay, like GS classified type stuff. I get you. Abandoned lands. Okay, do you think it would be a good idea to create an American heirs property owners share interest bill of rights? Baby, that sounds good to me. I just like how that sounds. That allows families in this alliance once they get their land back. Here's the thing. It is something already like that. However, what I think that has to happen first is families have to start the process of getting their land back. A lot of farmers who still on, the farmland today. They've started their process. A lot of people who are on the heirs property tip who don't have farmland, just property, a lot of them have started the process. I think what's most important is protection. Do you think you can protect your land? I'm talking about from a physical, a legal, hell, even a spiritual standpoint, especially a spiritual standpoint. You kind of already get the spiritual power once you start moving, and it's a power that you have. I can't even explain the power. I can't call it hoodoo. I can't call it voodoo. There's no name to it. It's not even a name for it. You just gonna feel it, and you're gonna see it at work once you start. Once you start going through those names, saying those names out loud, going through those land files. That's your great granddad, these his brothers. That's your aunt. Those are the one that was managing the land. Da, 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 da. It's a power that comes, and I can't even, like I said, I can't explain it. I don't know name for it, nothing. I just know that it's there if you just start working. So I think that a bill of rights is due. Um, I think that would be great. We probably need to see bill of rights. We'll probably need to go back to the 60s, back to the Indian. We probably need to go back to the 60s and look back at those files and reread them from the civil rights movement. We probably need to go back and look at those files because a big chunk of land was lost during that era too. Right after that bill was signed into law, that civil rights bill, a huge chunk of land was lost, heirs property was lost, and HUD was created. So much stuff would have to be undone in order for us to get the land back, but it's up under the same office. It's up under the same office. Um, to me, I think it's easier to pay out reparations, and I think it's easier to pay out royalties for the families who can get the files, which is not difficult to do because we done went through these files back and forth, front to back. Y'all see how quick the goddamn Jones family was able to get their land back. Like, I didn't even get in the email, Lord, and nobody put me in the email thread and said we got it back. Nothing. Just give me the files, Janice. Can you hurry up? Get the file. Okay, damn. But let me know the success story behind it, guys. I won't tell nobody, I promise. I ain't gonna say nothing. I just want to be like, yes, I did a good deed. I ain't gonna ask for nothing, especially not no damn education from the UA, wherever they try to get educated from. I don't want none of that. I'm already educated. Create a narrative to justify themselves of taking one's land. Same old hook, line, and sinker, Trevor, and we have to fight it. We just have to fight it. Does anyone here know about the secret city at Oak Ridge, Tennessee? Absolutely. 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 I know all about it. And you know what? I got a whole book about it. That's what one thing that Cookies Part 3 was gonna be about. It. You remember Cookies Part 3? Depends on how long you've been here. I got bullet out of Cookies Part 3, but a lot of that was gonna be about the whole nuclear era, cell splitting, mitosis, meiosis, how they use Black American cells split in order to create the whole nuclear era, cities in America that were bombed, where the bombs were dropped. It was more than Oak Ridge, it was plenty of cities that was built. It's deep, but we tie into these stories and it all ties into this. Literally, it's literally all together. It's literally all together. It's literally all together. Yes, that's selling cheap. It is. It is. Um, yes, I seen it on local news. They interviewed one of his children. Lord, they just asking for education. The whole 4 mil post road in Jones Valley owned by the white man. He's leasing that land to those businesses. Man, they would have to pay me some money. While the ones with over 300,000 acres that was contaminated, yeah, them. They better not be just asking for no education. I'm gonna do a follow. They got to be stealing my check. Y'all got Jones family. Y'all hit me up on the email. Let me know what's going on. The land that is currently, and I don't call myself Janice no more, Dr. Now you know better. The land that is currently Redstone Arsenal sits on used to be a community of melanated people before the government moved them off, and this, the birthplace of Redstone Arsenal. Wow, guys. Wow. Wow, man. So much history. So much history. I want to keep these lives down to like an hour so you'll be able to share it and people be able to, you know, get the knowledge. I love you all so much. I will be releasing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts this weekend. Those videos are nice and clean and shareable. No profanities, different from like how I be on YouTube. And I'm about to be even worse on TikTok. So I'm about to go off of here, and in a minute I'm gonna be live on TikTok. And where I really get to talk for real, for real. Anybody know about Pelham, Georgia? I'm from the South. I know about Pelham. What you need to know about Pelham? Um, what you need to know about Pelham? Yeah, Cold War on us, Jonesy, exactly. Exactly. See, before a lot the Cold War never stopped. Let's start there. The Cold War never stopped. It was just renamed CIA. That's how I feel. I mean, it never stopped technically. Yeah, it was just renamed to like a department. Anyway, I love y'all. I'm about to be on TikTok. For those of you who are on TikTok, I'm at Queen Janice, and we would found my great grandma grave there. Oh, Pelham, Georgia. Wow. Carla, where you from? You from Albany? You from Albany, Carla? You from Albany, Carla? I know about Pelham now. I know about all southern states. But anyway, guys, I'm about to be on TikTok. Okay, y'all come over to TikTok, guys. Let's get TikTok popping so we can end some careers over there. Y'all know a lot of French groups that used to be on Facebook. They not on TikTok calling us slaves, y'all. My TikTok is Queen Janice. Thanks for everybody who supported the live. I love y'all so much. Please share this with one person and come over to TikTok and let's talk. Love y'all. Bye.